morning once again, and welcome to the Haven Financial Group radio show. I'm Larry Colvig, founder and CEO of the Haven Financial Group, celebrating our 10-year anniversary and proudly 10 years serving the metro area and the outstate area as well of Minnesota. So again, thanks for listening. Keith Russell's with us, talking estate planning, beneficiary, the tax strategies to go with estate planning, all these topics, which is right up Keith's wheelhouse. And it's great to have him, Kim, because these conversations aren't fun, but they are, as we're talking about, so very, very important.
Absolutely, they are. Keith, let's talk about tax reduction strategies. Obviously, nobody, living or passed away, necessarily wants to give Uncle Sam any more money than what Uncle Sam it deserves to get. So when you sit down with someone and you start to put together an estate plan, what are some of the things that you ask, some of the questions you ask, and some of the strategies that you maybe suggest or you actually use to minimize taxes when it comes to what's being left behind?
So typically, we practice in Minnesota. So again, with the Minnesota estate tax, that's going to be one of the first questions, is trying to determine whether or not an individual or married couple has over $3 million in assets. And that's just not financial assets. That's the home, that could be farmland, that could be a cabin. All that is going to be counted. And so with married couple, we're going to probably look, first of all, at, depending on the amount, but if it's close to 3 million or 3 to 5 million, we're probably going to utilize revocable living trusts to find ways at the death of the first spouse to be able to move some of that money into an irrevocable trust to minimize that surviving spouse's taxable estate. And then for people that have higher amounts, at that point, we're probably going to be looking at maybe irrevocable life insurance trusts, ILITs, or maybe some other vehicles for those situations. And then there's also giving, charitable giving. If there's money left to charity, that is going to reduce your overall taxable estate as well.
Okay. If you're someone who has, I'm not going to use the term extreme wealth, but you have wealth, are there ways to distribute your dollars prior to your death that will eliminate some taxes for those who are left behind?
It can. So again, with leaving money to charities, if they are qualified charities, that is going to reduce your taxable estate. Now, if you gift money during your lifetime or property during your lifetime to people other than charities, in Minnesota, there's going to be what we call a 3-year look back for that. So if you give a gift in Minnesota, you have to wait 3 years before that to not be counted against your taxable estate. So if you give something and then you die in year 2, Minnesota Department of Revenue is going to count that whatever you gift is going to count that as part of your taxable estate.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. For the federal government, the federal government's a little better news there. So right now the gift tax and estate tax is $15 million. Oh, it's going to be $15 million. It's not quite there yet, but starting next year, it'll be $15 million per person. And that's actually portable. So if you have a spouse, whatever is the other spouse doesn't use, the combined could be $30 million worth of. So you can make lots of gifts. You have a lot more flexibility and leeway with the federal gift and estate tax.
Okay. What about educational funds and that kind of thing? Can they be used in a way to protect from taxes?
Yes, 529 plans. They can actually they can be an effective means as well as trying to shunt some money for tax planning.
So if let's say you could put that in for a grandchild or something like that, and that money would be taxed or would be sheltered in a 529 plan.
They do qualify for the annual gift tax exclusion. Okay. If you structure it correctly, then you could certainly be putting money away and helping with the tax situation.
Okay.
Kim, I'd like to, it isn't exactly along the lines of taxes, which this segment is, but I want to pose just a couple questions. They're questions that I frequently for years have got from the public. Number one, one would be, Keith, what happens if I don't have a will? I'm not going to put one together. I'm just not going to do one. What happens? And the second question being, we get this often. I want to hide all my assets from the nursing home. Please help me do it. How do I do it? How do I do it? I want to hide it all from the nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
If you could just briefly answer those two detailed questions, I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So for the for the first question, if you only have wills, then you're really not going to have much ability to avoid estate tax. And I've seen that actually occur. I did a probate where a couple had over $4.5 million, and all they had was wills. They had made their own wills and had family members witnessed it. And had they come to us, we could have planned more effectively, and they wouldn't have to pay any estate tax. But they ended up paying, over $100,000 in estate tax just because they did wills. So wills are definitely not an effective strategy. And then I would say for medical assistance in Minnesota, probably the most effective strategy is going to be making gifts. In Minnesota, revocable living trusts are not going to be an effective way to avoid medical assistance claims. Because you control the assets, they're going to be counted as part of your assets for qualifying for medical assistance. But if you can structure it to where you can make gifts to loved ones and then don't apply for medical assistance for 5 years after that, medical assistance is not going to look at those gifts because there's, again, a 5-year look back. And so anything 5 years in a day, it's not going to be counted as part of your assets. So that can be an effective strategy if you're trying to make gifts and not basically have them used against you for medical assistance purposes.
Okay. Can I go back for just a second? The couple who had the $4 million and they had done their own wills, what if they wouldn't have had wills at all? Would the impact have been even greater?
So from a tax perspective, no, it would not have affected them from a tax perspective, but they had no children. And so it would have been very much more complicated because then we would have been looking at nieces, great-nieces, cousins, maybe second cousins. There would have been a lot of beneficiaries that would have to be identified and basically tracked down. Sometimes you can't find people. You have to hire private investigators. It can be a big mess if someone doesn't have a will and doesn't have beneficiaries listed in that will. You may be trying to find. It's kind of that story about someone who has a long lost aunt and they end up inheriting those kind of situations. And they are a really kind of messy probate situation when you have that many beneficiaries to hunt down.
Or correct me if I'm wrong, Keith. If you die without a will, the state of Minnesota will draw up a will for you. Is it not called dying intestate, which sounds like a terrible digestive disease? So
Yes,
we want to avoid?
Yeah, and yeah, that's a great point, Larry. It is called intestacy when you die without a will, and Minnesota has an intestacy law, and so there is kind of a chain depending on if you don't have a will, who's going to benefit, and so it starts with surviving spouse. If you don't have one of those, it's going to go to your children. If you don't have children, it's going to go to your grandchildren. If you don't have grandchildren, it's going to go to your parents if they're still alive. If not, to your siblings, nieces and nephews, great nieces and nephews, cousins. And so depending on someone's situation, like I was saying with the couple that had the $4 million, they, again, had no children or grandchildren. So, and their siblings were deceased. So we would have been looking at nieces and nephews. And so, yeah. So that basically is how the progression goes.
It can be a very, very complicated situation for people after you have passed away. All the more reason, obviously, to make your wishes known and get it taken care of prior to that time. Not something that, like Larry says, this isn't something that's fun to think about and your kids don't want to hear about it in a lot of cases or whatever, but certainly something that is necessary. If this is something you've been thinking about, maybe it's time for you to draw up some kind of estate plan. Or maybe you have one and it needs to be reviewed. As we have said, this is something that needs constant maintenance. Then give them a call here at Haven Financial Group, 612-504-8400. The number again is 612-504-8400. Tell them that you've heard us here on the radio and you'd like to come in, set up an appointment, and chat a little bit about estate planning or any other kind of retirement planning that you need. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about your legacy and how it stretches beyond just your finances. This is the Haven Financial Group Radio Show.